So welcome to the node.js package maintenance team meeting for January 4th, 2022. Welcome to the new year. We'll follow the agenda that we had tagged in the issue. It was issue number 502. Before we get started, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share?
Happy New Year's.
New Year.
Okay. So let's go to the first issue, which is number 373, promote all current drafts to top level. I don't know, Owen, if that was one that I think probably came out of one of your issues. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, it's just been the top level tracking issue, which I think actually gets closed out by.
So let's go to the first issue, which is number 373. Okay, I got to find. I don't know. Yeah, that was one that I think
Is someone else hearing the stream?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the window where I can turn that off. Okay, sorry about that. YouTube started playing again for me. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Owen.
Sure. So let me just pull it up here. Yeah, so I think that's just the top level tracking item. I think, yeah, so the linked number 500 next to it is, I believe, the one to close it out. I think there's still one left. Let me see. So
yeah, there was, right. 500 is the one. I commented on earlier. There was a couple just empty placeholders, which I think we should leave. But otherwise, if we promote the other two, we're probably done.
There, maybe Glenn might want to hop in on this one. So the PR number 500 just moves the drafts as they are. But I believe, Glenn, you were working on CI/CD, so.
I'm going to be. I did make a promise, which I haven't fulfilled yet, although I have been working on a Wibby instead, which I did fulfill.
I guess, in your opinion, is it the current form sufficient enough just to get out there?
I think so. We do need to do work, obviously, in here.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I just didn't want to. Just a heads up to you that this is going in now as you were working on it in parallel. So, but yeah, I think yeah, we're gonna probably be able to close this one out whenever we can merge 500. Then we can always iterate like Glenn is doing, you know, on an ad hoc basis.
There were just a couple that were like clearly
empty,
empty. So those I think we should leave behind in draft and.
Yeah, looks like Zach was able to do that. So it's just two drafts now, 2 out of 4.
Perfect. I'll just say sounds good to me. And so. Okay, so anything else to discuss on that one before we move forward? If not, okay, let's move on to number 497, team membership audit. So Dominicus, I think you opened that one, and we then opened a issue 499 during, I think, the last meeting 12 days ago. We CC'd everybody and we said, like, please respond within 30 days. So I think, Jordan, you'd commented that, you know, wasn't a great time, which is why we said, let's do it for 30 days so that it's still got a number of weeks after the new year starts.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I mean, my hope is that, because the list of members is absurdly long, and my hope is that this audit will prune it down, and anyone who feels upset that they were removed can just be re-added. But then at some point when the number is manageable, then we can decide if we want to apply some sort of activity standard.
Yeah.
And at that point we don't have to ask anyone, because either they meet the standard or they don't. Yeah. But like, that's something we can do later. It's just like there's like 60 or 80 people on the list, and that just seems too many.
Yeah, I know, given how many people actually participate, agreed. So yeah, I'm same mindset of like, if people say, hey, wait a sec, we just can leave them on. And there is discussion in other places just across the org about like activity, measures and stuff like that. So if we can just leverage that, that would actually be pretty good. Okay, so I think we just, maybe next meeting, it'll be in another couple of weeks, we'll have a pretty good feeling for what that update will look like, but probably nothing too much more to talk about this week. Okay, so the next one is status update and next steps for PKGS Create. That one, I think if I remember, I don't think we've made any progress unless anybody has any updates.
I can start on that now. I've got some work done on Wibby after making a comment 1 year ago that the documents required reading the code before you could use them. We're getting somewhere on that. And I'll start turning my eyes and I'll start talking to people on that front. I haven't really looked at it, but that would be the next thing for me to do.
Sounds good. And I think John, who commented on it at one point as well, I saw a post or I saw somewhere, maybe it was in our membership review, saying, hey, that his new job will give him some more time to work on it too. So we'll leave that on the agenda because it would be good to make progress on that. Okay, the next one is suggested list of modules to get help support info. I think there's no update on that. And then I guess 373, we've already covered under the earlier one. Right. Annie, so that takes us to the end of the agenda. I have one thing I might suggest we could talk about. Is there anything else that people want to talk about before we dive into that?
I'm going to do just for that. I'm going to do my best to try and encourage people to join in, as this is a good way of starting off in open source. If anything, just to make contacts, to find out other things to do in open source. I should be able to attract some more people. Like all of us, it's been a particularly busy end of year and beginning of new year.
Sounds good. Well, so we'll keep our eye open for people. If there's anybody like you want to say, hey, here's somebody coming, make sure we welcome them or whatever.
I'm sure they'll be very welcome. It's just the work we do is not always the exciting work. That's the thing we have to know. It's very essential. A lot of essential work is not exciting. And that's the difference I try and promote between junior and senior developers. You will do the less exciting work.
That is so true. Any other things before I just bring up the one I was thinking we might talk about? If not, the one thing I've been wondering about is, like, does it make any sense for us to adjust some of our governance in terms of landing PRs and stuff like that? I'd be thinking that we might be able to shorten that cycle a little bit. Because currently we say we need 4 approvals, 7 days from the 4th approval.
Was it 14 days even?
Was that?
I think it was 14 days in some cases, no?
So here, here's the link. I'll paste it into the.
Right.
4 approvals from regular members, no blocking review, 7-day period from the 4th approval.
Okay.
So if there's the event that there's 4 approvals, but existing pending reviews still exist, then a countdown of 21 days will start.
I think we can adjust it. I think I wrote that.
I was just wondering, yeah, I mean, I don't think we've had too many issues and it does seem to drag out, like even just like getting the minutes landed and stuff like that. So I was thinking it might be worth tweaking for maybe some special cases or whatever.
I think perhaps we should add minutes, just to a couple of reviewers half the time. Let's make the cases for the regular, the stuff that's not controversial. We already said it.
Yeah, so here I'm just gonna edit. I will maybe create a PR as we speak. Let me share screen. maybe like. Except for specific cases outlined below. Or minutes. So yeah, what were we suggesting? Like, so 2 approvals, 7 days.
Yeah.
Any other special cases like that that we think would be worth? I don't know if there's any other
Start with
grammar.
this.
regularly do.
Grammar and typos and things like that, I guess, like
Yeah,
mini content updates, I suppose. But I guess, how many spelling mistakes does it eventually becomes like a new paragraph, but I'm sure it'll be pretty clear, fixing a typo is different than adding a paragraph. I'm sure the line will be somewhat clear.
does the same requirements make sense? Or I'd even be like, once there's 2 approvals on something like that,
Mm.
or even one approval, I don't know what people think.
I think 2 is probably decent. This pair of eyes is always better in general. As far as like a waiting period, I don't have a strong preference.
I'm just figuring once you've got a couple people
Mhm.
who've sort of looked at it. I mean, it might even make sense for the minutes too, right? Like we can always revise the minutes if we make a mistake there or something, and there shouldn't be anything really controversial.
Yeah.
So a couple
Maybe it's
people have
just like,
looked at it.
yeah, maybe it's like for this list, for this special list of items, the following conditions can apply. So it's like a list of special conditions, like the first one, and they apply to these conditions as a second list.
Right. So kind of.
The other thing is, what I've usually done elsewhere is that there's a total number of reviews from collaborators needed on a PR, and if the author is 1, that can count as 1. So like if that total number is 2, then that means 2 collaborators review a third party, a random person's PR, but 1 collaborator needs to review a collaborator's PR, and do the math for whatever other number you want. What's nice about that is that it guarantees that the number of eyes on the PR from collaborators is the same, without adding extra like inconvenience for collaborator PRs. I don't know if that's tenable for everyone.
Right. I see what you're saying. Like you want at least 2 collaborators
to have seen it. And then it doesn't matter who's the author,
Yeah.
as long as 2 collaborators have approved it, right? Or authored it.
So we could actually say collaborators from collaborators. Which may include the author.
Yeah.
Can you approve your own PR in
No,
GitHub?
But it's, I
unfortunately
guess it would
not.
be an implicit approval, right?
Right. Yeah. It's basically saying that if you authored the PR, that counts as you're approving it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made it as a non-draft.
I've created PRs I don't agree with.
I've always heard
Well,
it's bad karma to well, certainly to merge your own PR,
Sure.
proving it's dancing on the line. I mean, we seem to do well with 4, so I can't imagine 2 is going to make things any more, but I don't need to be that much of a stickler. I would just say, if at that point, I would just say 1 collaborator, you know.
Right.
I think everybody should at least get there, you know.
Oh, but then if a PR comes from some random person, you probably would want 2 collaborators to look at it. That's the nuance that I was trying to capture. It's saying that,
really
PRs from collaborators are privileged and that they require 1 less review before they can land.
No, I understand. I guess it really just comes down to if, you know, your PR should count as a review in and of itself. I don't personally, I mean,
We could just leave it at,
the stakes aren't that high here, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so it's not
Yeah.
that big of a deal, but I yeah, maybe in this context, it's okay if others
we
are
could just
fine.
leave it at 2, you know,
Yeah, that's
not
fine.
including the author, which, I mean, that'll make it easier and faster than we've got today, so.
Hmm.
Okay, so is that addition makes sense?
Mhm.
Okay. I will submit that.
Now Mike's gonna merge it.
Well, I was gonna say, now it needs the 4, create, oh, right. Now it requires the 4 approvals, right? So, okay,
Well,
that's all what I
yeah.
thought was good to chat about. I will
Cool.
Stop sharing. Any other things we want to talk about before we close out for today?
I don't think so.
If not, okay. We'll talk to everybody later.
Here's
All
all.
right. Have
Thanks.
a good one.